Let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that's as intense as it is, well, surprisingly relatable. We're looking at the story of the prophet who wanted to die. This is a historical account of a burnout so absolute, it literally broke one of the most powerful men in history. I mean, think about this. He just called down fire from heaven, defeated hundreds of false prophets with a single prayer, and yet, less than 24 hours later, he's lying under a tree out in the desert, literally begging God to end his life. If you've ever won a massive battle on the outside but felt completely hollow on the inside, this explainer is definitely for you.
Just look at the sheer whiplash of this moment. 1 second, you've got a man experiencing an impossible, monumental public victory, literally commanding fire from the sky. And the next? In just a 24-hour shift, that exact same man is completely hollowed out, terrified, and lying in the dirt praying for death. We're not talking about a simple bad mood here, right? This is a catastrophic emotional crash. So to understand how someone goes from an absolute peak to rock bottom so quickly, we really need to retrace his steps.
Section 1. The Peak and the Crash.
To really wrap our heads around this plunge into despair, we've got to rewind a bit. Let's look at the absolute peak of his success up on Mount Carmel. Now, the number 450 here is absolutely crucial. See, Israel had been worshiping a false god named Baal for years, and this entire corrupt system was protected by a highly dangerous queen named Jezebel, who literally killed prophets for sport. And against this massive, deeply entrenched system, one man, Elijah, stood completely alone. It was one guy against 450 false prophets. The sheer pressure of a moment like that is almost unimaginable. But Elijah, he doesn't even flinch.
The way this goes down brilliantly illustrates his absolute certainty. First, he builds the altar. Then he makes the miracle absolutely impossible to fake. He has it soaked in water, not just once, but 3 separate times. The trench is literally overflowing. And finally, he doesn't scream or do some chaotic ritual. He just prays a single sentence. The result? Fire actually falls from the sky and consumes absolutely everything. The wood, the stone, even the water. The false prophets are defeated, and the people fall on their faces. I mean, by every conceivable metric, this is the ultimate victory.
But wow, look at how fast things spiral on day 2. Day 1, he defeats the 450 prophets, the ultimate high. But then day 2 hits, and word reaches Queen Jezebel. She doesn't repent. Instead, she sends Elijah a single message, basically promising that by this time tomorrow, he's going to be dead just like her prophets. And suddenly, this guy, the man who stood fearless against fire and an angry mob, is terrified. He runs for his life. By day 3, he's run a full day into the wilderness and just completely collapses. Fire didn't shake him, but a single threat from one angry woman broke him completely.
Section 2. The breaking point. And this brings us to the emotional anchor of our explainer. This is where we find our hero completely stripped of his momentum, his confidence, and his will to keep going. After running out into the total isolation of the wilderness, he collapses under a broom tree. Some translations call it a juniper tree. And from there, he utters 5 devastating words that honestly still stop readers cold today. Lord, take away my life. Just pause and think about that. Less than a day earlier, he watched fire fall from heaven because he prayed. Now, he can't even find a single reason to keep breathing.
He doesn't ask God to fight for him. He doesn't ask for a strategic retreat or for protection. He just simply says, I am no better than my ancestors, meaning I'm done. I've failed. I'm actually nothing special after all. You know, if you have ever felt incredibly strong in public, leading the charge at work or maybe in your family, but then felt entirely hollow and defeated in private, you can probably see how deeply resonant this ancient text really is.
Moving on to section 3, the unexpected cure.
Now, the way God responds here completely subverts every single expectation we might have about divine intervention or leadership or how to handle severe burnout. If you're expecting lightning or maybe a stern lecture on having more faith, or even a reminder of that amazing miracle that literally just happened, well, you aren't going to find it. Instead, God sends an angel who touches him and provides the most basic human needs imaginable. Step 1, he gets food. Step 2, he's given permission to just sleep and rest. And step 3, the angel wakes him up simply to eat a second time, basically noting, hey, the journey is too much for you right now.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. God feeds a suicidal, deeply burned out prophet twice before saying a single word about his feelings. God completely bypasses the sermon. There's no, hey, snap out of it speech. He grounds Elijah's recovery in practical, relatable, physical reality. When your body and mind are that exhausted, you don't really need a fiery motivational speech, do you? You literally just need a meal and a nap.
Section 4. The Still Small Voice.
Strengthened purely by that food and rest, Elijah walks for 40 days and 40 nights until he reaches Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. He finds a cave, and he hides. And it's finally here that God asks a really profound question. What are you doing here, Elijah? Elijah's answer is just completely raw. He pours out his grievances, that he's been zealous, the system's totally broken, they've killed the other prophets. But the real core of his pain is simple. He says, I am the only one left. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate lie of severe burnout. It's that convincing, suffocating isolation that makes you believe absolutely no one else sees what you see, and no one else is fighting the same battles you are.
What happens next is a spectacular display of natural power. A massive wind literally tears the mountains apart, but God is not in the wind. Then a massive earthquake shakes the ground, but God is not in the earthquake. A roaring fire burns, but again, God is not in the fire. God deliberately chooses not to appear in these overwhelming, destructive forces.
After all that chaos, all the running, the crazy fire on Carmel, and 40 days alone in the desert, this is how God finally meets him, a gentle whisper. Or as some translations beautifully call it, a still, small voice. Why? Because a loud, earth-shattering display of power just isn't what a broken, exhausted man can actually handle right then. He needed intimacy and quietness, not another overwhelming sensory overload.
Section 5. Rest, Food, and Truth. Let's look at how this builds a gentle, highly practical path forward out of profound exhaustion. I mean, how does someone actually rebuild after hitting rock bottom? Through that gentle whisper, God starts to correct Elijah's isolation. Remember Elijah's claim earlier that he was the absolute only one left? God gives him this number, 7,000. There are actually 7,000 others in Israel who never bowed down to the false god Baal. Elijah wasn't alone at all. He just couldn't see the reality of his situation from inside the dark cave of his own despair. Truth finally cuts through the lie of isolation.
And notice what happens next. God gives him new assignments, a successor to train, and a tangible future to walk right into. There is absolutely no shame here. There's no demanding that he apologize for being afraid. God simply provides practical next steps. And what that means is, your worst day, your most severe burnout, or that moment where you say, I literally can't do this anymore, it does not disqualify you from having a purpose or a future.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If a man who called down literal fire from heaven could end up begging to die just 24 hours later, none of us are immune to the crash. Not a single one of us. So are you pushing for fire when you really just need rest, food, and truth? If you've been winning in public but dying in private, ask yourself this question. And remember, sometimes the most profound recovery doesn't start with a massive miraculous victory. Sometimes it starts with a simple meal, a good night's sleep, and the quiet reminder that you are never alone.